the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time.
Maritime Matters is brought to you live by Bahamas Maritime Connection.
What is maritime?
Maritime, simply put, relates to navigation or commerce on the high seas.
Some say money makes the world go round. I say ships move the money that make the world move.
Who navigates those large international ships?
How often are international ships required to be surveyed and inspected?
Maritime also protects our seas and borders by way of our local Bahamas Defense
It is
Force.
very sad to say that out of 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are employed.
Maritime Matters.
And pleasant good evening to you, our valued listening audience. Welcome one, welcome all, welcome to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. The producer for our show tonight is the great one, the maestro himself, Mr. Craig Gibson. We're coming to you live via Love 97 FM. This is Tuesday, the 27th day of January, 2026. And if it's a Tuesday, it's maritime tick, 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 matters. We encourage that if you're driving and tune in with us, please do so cautiously and ensure to take your time in getting wherever it is you are trying to get safely. As the saying goes, drive to arrive alive. Our sponsors for tonight's show, of course, One-on-One Pharmacy and also Island Care Pharmacy. For all your medication needs, check out my little cousin, Shantia Heel McBride, and her lovely team at One-on-One Pharmacy in Nassau and Island Care Pharmacy up there in Freeport. We are secondly sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited. And at BMC, we provide a full slate of maritime ISPS security services. Anything to do with international ship and port facility security, we got you covered. Good night, Annie Mae. Annie Mae. Why Annie Mae would call Annie Mae? I apologize on live radio. Boy, my Annie Mae was calling me and I didn't get to call Annie Mae back. You're traveling to something else. Anyway, Annie Mae, all I could tell you is I a jello pies. You know your boy, you know I love you to death. Annie Mae is 92 years old, people, and guess what? This is the year when Annie Mae will turn 93. And you know we can let you know when the big birthday time coming. I got to make sure I do. So I say good night to my old Annie Mae, 92, getting stronger, stronger, stronger. Tonight, we engage discussions on numerous maritime events. The big one, of course, being the impact of foreign boaters poaching in Bahamian waters. Now, I'd say poaching. Now, normally when we talk about poaching, you know, we just be talking about like those set in the south would come in them commercial fishing boat and they trying to clean house. They going under and everything they see they carrying, right? But we got commercial fishing boats coming from the north and the northwest as well, especially Florida, or in particular Florida. And they're not coming looking like no poacher, you know. They come in as dress up like tourists, like they just come to do the little regular visiting operation and go to our restaurant, spend some money, whatnot. Boy, but they cleaning house. They go and see, and they just go in some of the areas which we have preserved, protected. Bahamians can't even fish in them areas, and they going all over the place with them sport fishing, looking like boat with all them freezers and stuff inside, just like our commercial ship. And they're just loading them up and then go back and keep coming, right? Well, we caught one. We caught one of them sorry sufferers, boy, and we can make sure that one get what he's supposed to get, right? Also, discussion should be engaging surrounding renewable energy. And guess what else? You all watched it last week? Davos, Switzerland. The World Economic Forum. Boy, that was something else. They got some speeches. Man, look, I watched them over and over again. Some of them so serious. And of course, the big head honcho, the President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, had a lot to say. We can try to break it down a little bit for you tonight, right? We mightn't reach that far, but we can try to get that far. So, we had 2 U.S. poachers caught recently. But you know what? This was their 17th recorded trip, and that's what we know about. And so they can get 17 licks. Got 17 trips to charge them for. We don't know how it go out, but we got to deal with that, because this is only one of a whole heap of vessels, yachts, that come across into our country under false pretense, and then they rake the fish and leave us without saying a word to anybody. But we caught one. And boy, look here, we need to catch plenty more of them, because we need to cut that out. They're depleting our fishing grounds. They're depleting all the big time fish we got. We don't mind our own commercial fishermen doing what they have to do, right? Because at least they got a little conscience. And plus, they're legal. What's in my yard supposed to be for me? Why you won't come sneak in here and carry my goodness? No, we couldn't do it with you. You can imagine Bahamian fish going in American waters, talking about they getting fish. And most of their fish, you can't even catch if you're an American, because they ain't got much. And they put protection and closing seasons. And the snapper, for example, they have 2 days a year that you could catch snapper around there. So what you think they do? They come over here and they rake them. Anyway, there are no provisions in our laws, in the Constitution, under the Constitution of the Bahamas. There's no act that provides that foreigners could do commercial fishing in our waters. And I said commercial. I didn't say you couldn't fish for consumption purposes on board the ship. But you shouldn't be fishing and filling up your freezers and stuff to carry back to sell. That's a no-no. And they're doing it all the time, we know. But it's up to us to challenge and correct and do things to cause that to stop. You can't expect them. I blame them if they're getting away with it, but why not? You know, everybody you see come here as a tourist is not nice people. They are not nice people. Some of them are terrible. They're worse than us. And when I say us, I talk about those among us who just break the law a lot, right? They ain't worrying about our law. They don't even see us as a real country, what they supposed to be respecting the law. When they go home, they respect their law. And when we go over there, we won't respect their law. Why? Because they carry out their enforcement the way it should. But we don't. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. We slack. Our authorities do not project themselves the way they should be projecting themselves, like the authorities in the US do. Anybody can tell you that. I mean, all us travel, we know, right? We even brace up when we go with them. Seatbelt pile up. We ain't trying to break the speed limit. We looking around. We ain't drinking no beer in the car and trying not to know the window. We do that when we go away. But they coming over here and raking up our fish illegally. But they wouldn't do it home. So we have an enforcement issue that needs to be arrested, and we need to do better. Retract fishing permit availability. Why do we have in our country people coming in as pleasure visitors? They're in their own boat and they just come with their family to be here for a couple of days and get away from home and let their hair down. And they're here for 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, sometimes 2 months. Right? Some of them live on those boats. But why should we allow them to fish in our waters? Why should we have something called a fishing permit that they could pay $300 and get. And now they could fish till they tired in our waters. How much money you think we can get out of that $300 compared to the amount of fishery products these people taking out of our seas? It's no comparison. The two don't even measure up. I know, and people out there, a lot of fishermen out there know, and a lot of mariners out there know, although they mightn't say nothing because they only want to get that money for the boat using the dock. But the reality, ladies and gentlemen, is that this country should not have a pathway for any vessel visiting to engage any kind of fishing. If they want fish, buy fish. Buy it from a Bahamian. Because they take advantage. And when you go on board most of those vessels, man, they get more seafood than you had in your house for the past year. And there's only 4 or 5 people on the boat, you know. But they get fish piled up like dirt because they out there in their boat all the time and they fishing in all the time and all they doing is reaping. So when they go back home, they got fish for years or they got fish for sale. Why would we want to have a situation where they could just do that? Because if you could give them a permit to fish for $300 a year, what you expect them to do? They're making far more money than that permit weight. And you think we that dumb where we can't see that? And I talk with our Ministry of Tourism, our Customs Department, our Defense Force, our Fisheries Department. Man, all of y'all, none of y'all could see that's a problem. Three 8255. That's the number to call. If y'all think I talking foolishness or if y'all think I talking untruths, please call and let me know what y'all know, what y'all think. We need to get a grip. We have been doing this for decades. When I was on Defense Force, we was doing this. We had the cruising permit, which allowed them to fish. I think they could have had up to, 15 pounds per person per day. So if they get 6 people on their ship, that's 90 pounds they can have on their boat per day. And of course, the next day they get another 90 pounds. And they come on, man, that cannot make sense. But they moved that up now where they give them a fishing permit for $300 a year. If they're on a 50-foot or $500 a year. If they're on something over 50 foot, I think it's something along those lines, right? And they could fish till they tired because they have a permit to fish. So why would we give these people permission to fish in our waters? That's what I want to know. Why can't we simply tell them we don't give out fishing permit because you're not allowed to fish while you're here? So we track all fishing permits and make it illegal for them to fish in Bahamian waters, with the exception of catch and release when they're doing game fish. See, some of them come here to fishing for sport. But our problem with the fishing for sport was that they would come here, they would fishing for sport. Sometimes they have big tournaments. And they catch all them nice tuna, wahoo, what the next one name? Blue marlin. And you know those big time expensive fish. When they come in the marina, they measure them off and see who got the biggest and yada yada yada. And then they cut them up and put them in the freezer and take them back home. And so you don't have too many of them left because they're catching them out. Why don't we simply have a catch and release system like we do for the bonefish, right? We know on the family islands, we eat that nice sweet bonefish, right? Because only so much we can take out the sea, man. We could get a, if we want catch bonefish to sell, we could do that, right? But we ain't trying to do it because we know it's illegal. So we might eat a little bit. But when the tourists come to do the fly fishing or the game fishing with those small fish, they catch and release. They don't catch them to eat them. Why can't that be the same thing with the big fish when they catch it? You are only allowed to catch and release. If you want weigh it, weigh it. If you want tag it, tag it. But you can't keep it to go cut up and carry out the country. Let our fish stay. They Bahamian fish. Let them stay in Bahamian waters. So that when the next fella come behind you and he come to game fish, the chances are the same when you catch him, might catch that. Right? Because that's still there. You only catch it and let it go. So game fishing in the Bahamas will become so much sweeter because you ain't catching them and keeping them, so we got all them fish still around here hanging out. Does that not make sense? Am I talking nonsense? I don't know. To me, it makes sense. This is the way this country should be. We should not have tourists or visitors or non-Bahamians fishing in our waters, period. Now, if you want to say, yeah, well, I want to come on my boat and I want to spend I want to spend a week in just in Ragged Island Chain, just in the land and sea park. Well, of course, we ain't got no restaurants in Ragged Island Chain. We don't expect you to leave Ragged Island Chain because you can't. If you go to Ragged Island, you can find a restaurant. You go to Long Island, you get lucky when you go to Salt Port. But the reality is, yeah, okay, so we allow you to catch some fish. But you could only catch enough fish for immediate consumption. You can't put none in the freezer because if you're on the sea all day, you could always catch fish. So you're eating only fresh fish. We ain't got no problem with that, eh? You could catch enough fish to eat as you go. We don't want find an our fish in freezer when the fence was coming in the mirrors and board you. You didn't mean you only looking for trouble. We check in the freezer and see if you got any of our fish in there. And if you got any, we can lock you up. How's that for enforcement? This is where we need to go, people. We need to conserve what we have. We need our visitors to understand that this is for Bahamians. This fish ain't for your freezer. And if I ain't making no sense, 326-8255 is the number to call. Just let me know. Because I may not see some things you could see, eh? We got anybody out there from the Department of Fisheries, the Fisheries Department? Anybody out there from the Customs Department? Because the Customs Management Act is what give them the clearance, eh? And I think that's who also give them the fishing permit when they clear it. But we need to be giving them no fishing, no license to fishing. No permit to fishing, no. Cutting that out. So I say to our authorities moving forward, let's revamp, let's revise our procedures for our visitors coming in who are not Bahamians and let them know that when you come to our country, whether you come by boat, whether you come by plane, whether you come in wheelchair or bringing your cane, you can't fish. Now, if you can live on your boat and you going in those far out, remote areas where we know we ain't got no restaurant and stuff, and we don't want to restrict you to eating all that red meat, all that Duffy meat you get in your freezer, because you better have plenty of that if you come in here to live on your boat. Buy it from our food store when you reach, we ain't mind. But don't think you can just stock your freezer with fishery products out of sea. No, sir. You ain't coming for that. We can't go to no other country and do that. So why we can let y'all come here and do that? No. It needs to cut out. So the provision for visiting vessels is to have a limited volume for immediate consumption only on board. And they are not allowed to have any fishery products in their freezers. So no kind of large scale, and when you say, oh, that was too much, we couldn't eat all that, so we put it in. No, we ain't want you catch that much. What you catch is what you catch and eat. And if you catch a little more than that, boy, you better cook it up and put it in the freezer, cook. Now, we might give you a break if you don't cook it. And they say, well, we got too much, this was left over, we eat this today. Okay, but don't catch no fresh fish, you eat that. That's how we got to roll with this. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. I'm joined here by my wonderful producer, Mr. Craig Gibson, as we roll over what we want to discuss for today. Next topic, renewable energy. We ain't taking no break yet. Renewable energy. Now this topic is a serious topic that we've been hitting over the past 2-3 years, because we have the global warming situation where we have too much carbon in the environment, and the carbon is forming blockage, trapping the heat and keeping the heat here. So we now have violent storms and the ice, the glaciers melting from up in the North Pole and the South Pole, and a whole heap of stuff going on now that is out of sync with nature, right? And all this is happening because over the past 50, 60 years, we had machinery that we use for our cars to drive, that we use to give electrical power from the power stations, that we use for our planes to move, that we use for almost everything. Combustible engines that take in oxygen just like us, and they release carbon into the environment. And so the environment have far too much carbon than it can handle, and that carbon is now causing a problem. So the world decided a couple of years ago in the Paris Agreement that we got to find a way to stop putting carbon in the environment. And then they have this COP 28, 29. Every year they have a COP meeting, Conference of the Parties, pertaining to the minimizing or the alleviation of the emittance of carbon because of human being use, right? We know we got that big carbon sink where you have all them seagrass meadows pulling a lot of carbon out there all the time, but that was there before the start, so we can't count that, right? So the world is now saying we gotta do something about this. So the Bahamas, just like many other countries, pledge that by 2030 we will have reduced the amount of carbon we put in the environment by some 30%. And the government pledged that all of our government buildings will have solar power on it. All of our government vehicles will be electric. And one or two little other things, right? And very recently, we see in the dailies last week, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Transport and the Environment, they toured a facility in Blue Hills, where they have a whole heap of solar panels. So we have started now, and they said BPL is saying that by 2020 or during 2027, or by 2027, which means by the end of this year, the Bahamas will be on track when it comes to BPL now. The suppliers of power throughout the Bahamas will be on track for 32% renewable by 20. In other words, out of all the energy BPL issued us, at least 32% of that will be renewable. In other words, we ain't gonna be putting no carbon in there. It can either be solar. Well, I think we have no wind farms, because wind farms for them cold countries only got the sun. The sun is the strongest. So do you know that last year, the end of last year, solar energy surpassed coal energy for the first time in history, because the world was using far more coal than oil and gas, right? And coal was number one, and then solar was number two, and all the rest of that. But now solar is actually number one. And do you know that only certain section of the world could use solar? You got to be like near the equator, like between that 30-degree north and 30-degree south, right? Anything higher than that, in the summertime you can get some solar, but you ain't get it year round. Because you see what's happening now with all the snow all over the place, right? That ain't only in America, it's also in Europe. Snow all over the place. So right now they could forget solar. So what they do up there, they use something called wind farms, because they have stronger wind than us. So they put these windmills in place, and when they turn, they create energy. And of course, they got special motors in them to make them speed up and go faster and make more energy, eh? And so, right now, BPL is saying that they're going to be, by the end of this year, not 2030, as we thought it would take a while, more than 30% renewable. And if you listen to President Donald Trump's speech last week in Davos, well, he said plenty things. We try to cover some of that tonight, boy, but I know how much time we can have, right? But we can try, right? But one of the things he said was that we are now looking at nuclear energy. You see, President Trump, you got to remember now, he have big issues with China leading the way with this renewable energy sources. In other words, if you want to buy solar panel, you can only China selling it. If you want to buy windmills, only China selling it. Right? Or if not only China, but China selling the bulk of it. Because the USA is selling none of those things. Because the rare earth material you need to make these things, China have a lot of it. Not many countries in the world have it. Well, Greenland got it. We know that, right? And we know what happening with Greenland right now. Yeah, we ain't going to talk too much about that, right? So President Trump is saying we can embrace nuclear energy. And then Lloyd's Register, which is responsible, this is the very first classification society in the world. This is in London, of course, Lloyd's, right? They're the ones that manage the maintenance and compliance of ships pertaining to all IMO conventions and whatnot, right? But Lloyd's Register convened a working group very recently to produce nuclear reactors for merchant vessels, right? So they have a merchant vessel reactor program that they now understudying, because the thing is, nuclear for propulsion was only used by the military, and the simple reason is, dear listener, and I won't get too technical, right? You know, it's a maritime man. We got to keep it maritime to some extent, but the sole reason why nuclear was limited to military purposes. Well, first of all, those aircraft carriers are huge. You put no regular engine in them. That's too heavy, right? They can't. That's a whole airport moving on the water. So nuclear is more powerful than any other type of engine to begin with. And then the fear is that if some of that nuclear escapes from that reactor, it has the ability to wipe out a few people. Because, you know, nuclear is nuclear. When you talk about nuclear weapons, that's a weapon of mass destruction. So if you have a nuclear reactor on a ship, that if it explodes, which it don't normally do, they have no record of none exploding, or an escape, leakage, whatever, that could be the cause of a lot of deaths. So when they first started to put them on aircraft carrier, a lot of countries never used to allow the aircraft carrier to even come in their harbor. I don't know if they realize, although the aircraft carrier in Anchorage, if that escape is still coming ashore, you can have your nuclear fallout anyhow, right? But that's just how it was, right? I don't think nobody's checked for that now, per se. But so what Lloyd's Register is doing is they're trying to harness nuclear reactors in a way that they could be installed on ships as energy for propulsion and all the rest of what the ship need. And it would be commercialized. It wouldn't only be military. Commercial ships could use it, and it wouldn't be no danger to society. And then that's a tough thing to come up with for the world to accept. But this is what they're working on. And President Trump is also saying we're looking at nuclear. And we have around the world nuclear plants for energy. For example, and I may be getting off the cut a little bit, right? But let's talk about nuclear. France uses nuclear more than any other country in the world when it comes to supplying electricity or energy. More than 70% of France's infrastructure for electricity distribution or energy distribution is provided by nuclear. And I don't know if you remember when the tsunami came, they had a big nuclear plant in Japan. And they were hoping that the wave from the tsunami don't shift that reactor. Because what will happen if the reactor shifts? It may escape and it can kill up a whole heap of people. But it didn't happen. It survived that with ease, right? And the question may be, why would France, of all countries, have so much nuclear plants for electrical distribution or for power distribution? You know what the simple answer is? Would you believe that it's because France was the country that, let me see how to term this now. They were responsible. Is that a word? Is that the word I need? It's more than responsible. They were the country that the West African region, like Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, those are the countries that were subservient to France. So when those European countries split up Africa and decide, I got this section, you got that section, France got that section right there. And guess what's so peculiar about that particular section? That's the section that have most of the world's nuclear, what you call the thing that's make nuclear? Uranium. And their grounds is rich with uranium. So what France is doing is they was taking the uranium for cheap from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. And that's what they were doing. Selling it for 200-300 times more to the rest of the world. Because they had actually owned the plants in those places because they took advantage and take advantage of the situation. And very recently you would have heard that I think both Burkina Faso and Niger cut France off per se. They was like, look, we can run our own country, we can do our own thing. We no longer selling y'all nothing. We can sell it to the rest of the world just like y'all are selling it to the rest of the world. And they start to make a lot of money. Here people talk about Ibrahim Traore. He could have hard because he's making plenty of money. His country's rebounding. They're not being taken advantage of no more, right? Now, Niger and Mali, they're coming along, but I don't know if they're coming along as good as Burkina Faso. But guess what? France was using nuclear for their energy source and getting it for dirt cheap. So, the U.S. have a big time nuclear arrangement. They don't produce nuclear. But you would have heard very recently that they were thinking about sending some troops just to the north of Nigeria. And if the U.S. sent troops to the north of Nigeria, what's the reason? The north of Nigeria abuts Niger. To the west of the northern Nigeria is Burkina Faso. And right next to Burkina Faso is Mali. So the U.S. troops would be right on the cuff of all that nuclear, all of that, what we say the thing name? Uranium. And that uranium is what they used to produce nuclear energy. Anyway, we go on a little deeper with that, right? So let's get back to where we're supposed to be. Talking about renewable energy. And we said that the Bahamas is putting up solar panels. We got a lot of Blue Hills. And you know, last week I was at Saudi Lutra. Because in Saudi Lutra, I went to do some work for one of the cruise lines, right? Some training for some security training for Princess Key and what the island name. But anyway, I went down there and I was fortunate enough to get a tour of the newly installed facility for Disney, Lighthouse Point, right? And one of the first things that hit me when I went to Lighthouse Point is they had rows and rows and rows of solar panels. They using BPL. And then they got rows and rows of battery storage. So they basically off the grid. A whole cruise ship facility off the grid. Now they can come in our country and do that. They're not only saving money, they're saving the earth. From having the emission of carbon by way of BPL generators or whatever the case may be. That's what's going on. So if they could save the earth from carbon emissions and at the same time save money, why aren't many other entities in the Bahamas doing that? And we know there are some. And I can tell you that in the next 5 years, we will see solar almost everywhere in our country. And there's no reason why our government should not, at this point, incentivize Bahamians to put solar panels on their roof. Give them a loan. We'll give you a loan if you put solar panels on your roof and tie it back to the grid and feed the grid. Because all of us got roof. And all our roof are all solar panels. And if we incentivize and most of us start doing that, then all of our light bill can go down. The Bahamas wouldn't be emitting that carbon, not even half as much as they used to. And then we could go to the United Nations and say, okay, we're no longer emitting all this carbon, so please, we want our credits for the carbon that we cut out. And that's how we could get carbon credits. People thought we could get carbon credits from our seagrass meadows, and I used to think that too, but we know that's not the case, right? You only get carbon credits for when you minimize what you was putting in the environment. So if you was putting so much carbon in the environment through BPL, having those big fossil fuel generators, and you cut that down so they hardly have no more fossil generators, they just using solar and they using our roof for more solar and more solar, we could go and claim our carbon credits for the reduction that we caused to happen for the rest of the world, eh? And that's how that works. So why wouldn't we want to do that? So we're talking renewable energy. And let me tell you, they got so much going on in the UK, so much going on in Germany, and the European government's getting together now to put wind farms in place to give them 100 gigawatts of offshore wind power. Anyway, we can talk too much about that. And then we can go into the Davos World Economic Forum. And we got some details to go in on that, right? So we'll take our first break here. And after the break is done, we'll go further into the rest of our agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Our producer for the night, Mr. Craig Gibson. The number to call if you want in on this discussion, 326-8255. And we shall be back as we continue our discussions on the poachers that were not denied bail in the Bahamas and what we need to do to fix our poaching, renewable energy in the Bahamas and around the world, and of course the World Economic Forum, how the chessboard move around in our world space based on the presentations made. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart. At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection.
Sitting in the morning sun. All these
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. You're listening to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Our producer for the night is Mr. Craig Gibson. The number to reach us, if you wish to have engagement in this dialogue, is 326-8255. Again, that's 326-8255. Again, you're listening to Maritime Matters, and on this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matters airs weekly at 17:05. That's 5:05 p.m. every Tuesday here on Love 97 FM. The primary purpose of our show is to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in the maritime sector. We also cover current maritime issues from the domestic and international maritime feeds. To hear a replay of the show or any of our previous shows, simply hit us up at any time via our YouTube page. That's Maritime Matters Bahamas. Just go to YouTube on your electronic device and type into the search box Maritime Matters Bahamas. Just like I love you, Maritime Matters Bahamas. And you will see a litany of our shows show up. You just choose which one you want to watch or listen to and enjoy yourself. So let's talk maritime. So far, we've covered the topics to some extent on the U.S. poachers. There was 2 of them that were denied bail recently, and you know we are fostering, we are pledging to our authorities that we really don't want foreigners fishing in our waters. We don't want to continue giving them a fishing permit for $300, $500, or $5,000. We don't want them to fish. We want them to buy the fish when they come here. And if they have to fish because they're in remote areas, then we can allow you to have consumption for immediate use only. So if we check your freezer and we see any fish in there where they ain't cooked, then you get in charge. So if you cook a little bit too much, you can put some in the freezer and you can eat that later. We ain't want you getting no more bunch of fresh fish. You got fish in the freezer, eat that. We ain't want you getting it home cook either. So that's how we rolling with our protection of our fishery resources. We said that we're going to do catch and release only. So if you catch a fish because you doing game fishing, you're fishing for fun, you ain't fishing to try carry nothing, then you just tag it and release it, or release it without tagging it. But we don't want you to kill the fish or clean the fish to eat. No, put it back in the water. Let someone else catch it later. And that's how we can be rolling, people. Renewable energy. That's the next topic. And we're still on the topic. We talk about how the Bahamas has pledged to And in the same administration, the Brave Davis administration, at COP26, I think it was, or one of those, we pledged that by 2030, we would have reduced our carbon emissions by at least 30%. And we pledged that all of our government vehicles would be battery, there wouldn't be gas. We'll have battery vehicles. We'll have all of our government buildings will be run by solar, particularly in the daytime, and they may have batteries to back them up, or we may have to go to BC at night. But guess what? We have solar rise buildings, according to our government pledge, right? And I don't know if there's anything else we pledged, but that was our pledge. But I think we're looking good because BPL has agreed that they're going to cut down by 2027, which means before 2026 finish, before this year finish, they can cut down where they'll have at least 32% renewable energy as part and parcel of their energy distribution. And that's a big deal. I can tell you that could be a big deal. And we said about Lloyd's Register, which is the society that deals with most of these ships out there, as far as surveying them and making sure they comply with all the regulations from the IMO, which said they have to reduce their carbon emissions. They have engaged a program where they're getting these professionals together to look into utilizing nuclear reactors, installing them on vessels as engines so that they can move those. We've been doing it with some of the military ships, so they know it could work. They just need to package it in a way that the civilians wouldn't be able to allow that nuclear, that uranium and stuff to escape. Because once that escape, and that's nuclear, that could kill up a couple people. So they're going to tweak that until they get it acceptable enough for merchant ship use. And then they said that the UK have just engaged a set of wind farms. Now, I don't know how many of y'all been cruising in Europe on cruise ships and whatnot. You pass certain areas, especially that North Sea area, and you see all kind of wind farms on the sea. And you be trying to figure out, why these only up here? Because Europe and Asia have decided that they're going to go ahead and try and rid themselves from fossil fuel and fuel dependent. And the UK is saying, we are so close to not needing tankers to come to our country anymore because we ain't need no fuel from them. And they keep pressing the button. So they're just getting ready to put down another 8.4 gigawatts. And that represent how much million homes they said it was? Let me see if I could find that for you all. That represents a couple million homes supplied with 8.8 gigawatts of offshore wind. So the windmills will provide up to 8.5 gigawatts of power that they could generate millions of homes in Britain. Because in the Bahamas, we need less than 400,000 kilowatts. Right? Is it kilowatts? I think it's 400,000 kilowatts. We don't even need 500,000 kilowatts to supply the entire New Providence. So we don't need all those wind farms, but we got solar. So solar is cheaper and better for us. So that's how we can be rolling with that, right? And they say Germany now wants to have 30 gigawatts by the year 2030. Notice, 30 gigawatts of power from windmills alone. And already they have 9.2 gigawatts installed. And then we have the EU, the governments of the European Union are getting together. And a couple of those countries, and this don't include England, but Germany is involved, are going to install between them. Now, England off by itself. No, but actually Ireland is part of this too, right? 100 gigawatts of power And that's in addition to the wind farms they already have in place. And they're saying that 100 gigawatts is going to be basically enough to keep them going during the daytime. And they have plans to add on to that as time moves forward. So the world, while the US has decided that, well, President Trump has decided, he cancelled, because they had massive contracts for wind farms to provide energy for New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. That zone right there, right off from New York Harbor, right? They were going to have a series of wind farms. That was already approved. They already started to bring in the material. And when President Trump won, he said, stop, cancel. That ain't happening no more. And recently they went to court, because the court had put a stay on the wake, so they had to discontinue waking. But they went back to the court, and the court said, okay, the stay, we're going to release the stay. You could now continue to do this wake, because you done do so much already. We can't just stop you, yada, yada, yada. But the case will go on, but you continue what you do. So now, I think about 6 of them in total, 4 of them already have permission to continue. So even in the US, they're making preparation to put down gigawatts of power from wind farms. I'm sure more going to be approved after these 6, right? Not under the watch of President Donald Trump. Because President Donald Trump realizes that all of these windmills are made in China. And if they're going to bring these windmills to the US for them to use as power sources, then China's making a lot of money. Excuse me. And from the US. And Mr. Trump don't like that idea. You see, China's annual revenue is approximately $22 trillion. Right? They don't talk but billions, or they talk trillions, right? So if China today is averaging over $20 trillion, and then it's close to 21, 22, right? $trillion for their annual revenue. And the US continues to be number 1. And they're only about 10 trillion more. They're like 31, $32 trillion. And the closest country to China, I can't remember what country it is, but I could check the charts, right? The closest country to China is making less than $5 trillion per annum. So that just goes to show you how far out China and the US are. And China just pick up this gallop like in the past 5-10 years. So if this continues, they will be making more money than the US in the next 5-10 years. So President Trump has issues with that. Right? Because while China is making all this money, they're building up their military. China now are saying that by 2035, they're going to have 9 aircraft carriers on the sea. You know how much they have today? 2. And the only country that got more than 2 is the US. The US got like 11 or 12. So China wants to match, because now when you got an aircraft carrier and you send out a carrier strike group, it's going to be an aircraft carrier, a couple destroyers, couple frigates, couple submarines, right? And that is what you call a flotilla. A carrier strike group. And you could send them anywhere in the world. So you got like an airport full of military planes right wherever you want it. Only the US could do that now. And be very effective because of the amount they could send out. Britain got like 2 ships. China got like 2 ships. I think India got 1. You got very, very few countries have aircraft carriers, eh? Where they could actually launch and land aircraft right on that carrier, and that carrier could take them anywhere in the world and do that. So China is looking, well, I wouldn't say to match the US, because the US ain't gonna sit down till 2035 and don't have no more aircraft carriers. But for a country to have that significant amount of aircraft carriers, that's going to represent a major threat and a major shift to world power. Because, you have the US now that basically could go to any country in the world and mash them up and take it over. I'm telling you facts, right? You can argue that much as you like. 326-8255 is the number to call if you see it differently. The US can go in any, and this includes China, whether you believe that or not. Russia, yes. India, yes. Because US have that much more power when it comes to military might. Not only with aircraft carriers, but they have the largest army in the world. They have the largest navy in the world. They have the largest air force in the world. So, ain't nobody else stand a chance right now. And that's why the US could say to a country like Greenland, we coming to get you. Right? We know Denmark's supposed to be the custodians of y'all. We ain't worrying about Denmark. And what did President Trump say in his speech? And President Trump has said some things, and I'm no big fan of President Trump. I mean, I've grown to respect him based on what he does, right? President Trump said to the entire Europe, Asia, South America, North America, and Africa, say, you got a call? President Trump said, I am asking for Greenland. That's a small ask. Because in the last World War, when the Germans had already taken over the whole of Europe and was coming over for England, or for the UK, they were coming for Greenland too. And I had to move in, or not I, but the US had to move in and protect Greenland. Move the Germans out of all those countries, Holland and what all of you all know the countries on in Asia, right? They were even the great France. It was France. They didn't take over parts of France. They didn't take over all of Amsterdam, Holland. They didn't take over Denmark. They didn't take over Sweden. They didn't take over all them countries, right? And coming through to take over England next. And then Italy down on the next end was taken over. They didn't have the whole north side of Africa. They didn't have, well, Turkey was easy, right? And then it took the Americans to come in and rescue Europe. And then Hitler and his team was on the eastern side trying to take over Russia. And that's why, at the end of the day, the Russians prevailed and the Americans prevailed with the help of England and everybody else. And Germany, the Berlin, had to build a wall because half was America and half was Russia, eh? And that's why when Gorbachev said, when President Reagan told President Gorbachev, tear down those walls. That's the kind of thing he's talking about. The walls that was created because of the World War, and the walls that were created because Russia and the rest of the Soviet Union clumped together to stave off from Europe. And the walls came down, and most of those Soviet Union countries became part of Europe. Today, they're part of Europe. And that's why this Ukraine war is so important. Because while most of them, you got to remember, Ukraine and Belarus are buffer countries between Russia and Asia and Europe. So the time has come now when Ukraine decide, oh, we want to also join the EU, and which means they can now also join NATO because they link to the EU. And Russia have a problem with that. So that's what this is all about. But anyway, we got a phone, we got a line. Caller, you on line one, hello.
Good evening, the Venerable.
Good evening, my friend.
The Venerable one, Glenn Ben.
Yes, sir. How are you? How are you, man? It's so good to hear your voice.
I'm doing all right, man. Doing better than last year.
Thank you very much.
Mr.
Thank
Payne,
God for that.
Save the Bahamas, man. We have crisis here, but our government choose not to get the help of the Americans, i.e., sending 16 more defense officers to a place. I mean, what a waste. What could 16 more to make the total 20 officers? They say for intelligence gathering. But in the Bahamas, I mean, what they sent them before, because in the Bahamas, the same individuals in the Bahamas, and we have problems in our country, I mean, from Haiti, and, you know, like you send in our officers to Haiti to pure confusion. You already have Africa there, you already have the Caribbean nations, whatever. We mix up in this Caribbean bowl of soup. We even in the Caribbean. And it's so racist because, you know, we have a couple of black leaders, they talk about, oh yeah, well, yeah, our people listen, that, we got to join up with them because you will be stronger. You know, we would have been stronger if we had been just, we are not in the Caribbean, not in CARICOM, but then, you know, the Americans always been here for the Bahamas. When the Defense Force vessel got hit, Ron and Agua, who came? Who came to rescue the Bahamas? Not Haiti.
Our big brother, only our big brother. Our big brother's here to help all. You remember when Venezuela wanted to take over Guyana very recently, and then the Americans got in and tell them don't try it.
You know, I mean, I wonder why the government, like Brave Davis. I mean, he's not Brave Davis.
Let me explain.
Fred Mitchell would they got to be retarded.
Well,
I mean, we don't have no military, we don't have no aircraft carriers, we ain't got no battleship. But those vessels of defense force, how many cannons they got on them? 1 or 2 or 3.
But that's
nothing to say you going into Haiti, they try to do anything. America they got bombers and everything. And you know, Haiti been running on, and they just gang, and like they shooting at planes and kidnapping Americans and doing all this wickedness. And the Bahamas, what the Bahamas is doing?
Do you think
bringing these people here on Bahamas here?
Do you think America?
That's why the defense force ain't getting no much rotation on the boat, because the government, what they're doing is bringing nations here, and it's crazy because every call you turn, you see an Asian, that all on the side of the road, and no one saying anything. I mean, something was wrong, and then everyone be like, "Oh, you xenophobic." You know what the real deal is? Asians are xenophobic. The real deal is that
I don't think Haitians is xenophobic, but you see what
happened. They are xenophobic because in Haiti they can't do what they're doing here, and they're running for their life.
No, but you see what happened recently. You see what happened recently in the Eastern Caribbean when President Trump told some of those countries they could take some of those people from him, refugees and whatnot from him. You notice some of them said we'll take some couple, but we don't want no Haitians. You and they calling us xenophobic.
And people feel like don't like Haitians. It ain't matter that. The bottom line is respect. Haitians don't have no respect. It's like you come in some country, a set of shop, and then you move around, and then you get your corrupt people who've been from Haiti, or who've been married, or had babies, and this and that, and all of them in the same corrupt cycle, and allowed to be. Because the government itself, it has those same people all sprinkled through. And you check their last name and check who their people is, and it's Haitian, and they looking up for themselves.
Yeah, but that's because we as a country are not doing what we need to do to control. Do you know that they have a lot of Haitians and Turks and Caicos who they using for work, and they controlling them to some extent? Do you know that Cayman Islands itself have 2 times more work permit people in their country than the Caymanians?
Yeah.
Do you know that in Saudi Arabia, they have the Pakistanis and whatnot pile up like dirt. They like outnumber not Saudi Arabia, what the place named Dubai.
Yeah.
They outnumber them 10 times. But
Yeah.
they could only get a work permit. They can't never get no citizenship, right? So
Yeah,
we
never
need to
allowed.
control. If we were to give them work permit, the ones who doing most of the work, right? Well, in certain areas, right? And not allow them to be getting citizenship.
Yeah.
You see, our problem is we like money too much.
Corrupt.
So we selling our own self out.
Sell your
Right?
brother out, sell your family out.
Yeah, but we can't blame them. We can blame our people because it's our people who doing it. And back to your view on the defense force going to Haiti. I don't agree with your views. I'll tell you why. Right, I was on the defense force, right?
I know.
And when I was on the defense force, we sent a good cadre of people to Haiti as peacekeepers, right? When the United Nations you guys remember the U.S. We could want them to go there as much as we want to deal with that situation. They don't want to go, otherwise they've been there a long time. They don't want to go, and nothing we could do to cause them to go, right?
Yeah.
And the country that is being impacted by Haiti more than any other country in the world is which country?
The Bahamas.
So we want other people to go, and we want to go. You don't think we should join them?
Yeah.
It's us who catching hell, eh?
Huh?
It's us who catching hell. So why don't think we should send a couple fellas there to join them, at least to show that we're interested in bringing stability, so that we don't be burdened with this problem forever.
Mr. Ben, you gotta be realistic though.
Yeah.
What we got in, I mean, like you dropping just stuff on the ground, man.
That's fine, but at least show some commitment. Put some skin. We should put some skin in the game, eh?
No, skin in the game, playing the real game. When you can't, when you see that you're being invaded, your big brother next door neighbor who came to your defense when Cuba bombed.
Yeah, but they gotta come. They gotta want to do it. They have no interest in going in Haiti. Otherwise, they'd have been there.
See, the request. You need to get a request,
Man, the whole world had requested them to do that, and they ain't checking. They ain't checking. They done been in Haiti and
why
they want
the
to.
Bahamas government ain't doing it? Because Bahamas
government can't request the U.S. government to go into Haiti. That is done by the same, just like how the Kenyans came all the way by way of the United Nations. The United Nations is take care of them kind of things.
Not necessarily.
Well, that's who did it when I was in the force.
America, they can just go in there and the United Nations is a joke.
No, they could if they want to, but I'm saying if they don't. Let's just assume that America do not want to go in Haiti. Then where we are?
No, America will go into Haiti.
No, but they gotta want to do it first.
It's really the Haitian people have a problem with the American because they say when Clinton and gone in there, but they steal the money, this and that.
Yeah, but the Haitian people can't stop America from coming and taking over.
I know, but they complain. But I understand. When the last administration was in, right?
Yeah.
The lady is a Haitian lady. I forgot her name. And she's up in everything.
Yeah, you mean the lady who live in Miami?
No, she's like I forgot her name. She was like a press secretary or something like that. She's big thing in like she's almost a third lady in charge. Okay.
Yeah.
And you see, once you get a Haitian up in any position, a Haitian will do anything to get what they want, to bring their people wherever they want them, and to get what documents and put people in place like Ruby Georges.
Yeah, but you don't think Bahamians will do the same thing if our country in turmoil? You don't think me or you will do the same thing and try to help our own people?
I didn't get that.
If our country is in turmoil and we got to fled, some of us get out. You don't think we can want to reach back and try to help some of our people?
Why the Asian people ain't reaching out to help their people? Why are they coming here?
Yeah, you just tell me, Ruby Georges, I'm trying to help them. You just tell me, Ruby Georges, I'm trying to help the people.
Yeah, exactly. And so, why is no one trying to help the Bahamian people? Because
we got people who's reached back and try to help. I mean, you all of us got family who went off to the States, and some of us went over there to live with them and go to college and stuff. We do the same thing, right? I'm just saying that we need to control what's going on. But when it comes to going to troops going in Haiti to try and normalize things, and we're not part of that, and we being impacted by more than any other country in the world by that, man, we gotta be wrong.
The government bringing them here, all Bahamas here.
Yeah, but we need to be a part of the effort to regularize Haiti, though, because we're the ones who feel in the crunch more than any other country in the world. So why don't we want to help?
We can't help. They already helping too much.
No man. When we were selling 50 people at a time when I was on the force as peacekeepers, you gotta remember you have a cadre of countries. We are there, but we're not there leading the way. We're only there to show support.
We based on our time.
You might call it wasting our time, right? But why would we complain if that mission is going on and we're not trying to be a part of it? See, we don't have a bunch of sissies on the defense force, See, a lot of people seem to think, oh, we said our defense fellas didn't get killed up. Come on, man. We got people who are well trained for this stuff. We got Green Berets. We got real men on defense force who could go down there and handle themselves.
Mr. Ben.
And we should not be afraid to be a part of a team that's trying. And you guys remember now, Haiti still our neighbors now. 100 years from now, they may be doing better than us. But let's treat our neighbors like our neighbors. They may be doing bad now. But if we can go down there and help bring them around, why shouldn't we be a part of that team?
Mr. Ben, we based on our time.
Well, I believe so.
Mr. Ben.
Me and you guys agree to disagree on that one. I believe so.
You can disagree with that, but I can tell you what, you watching that. It'll be nothing but a waste of time and Bahamian taxpayers dollars. That mission is fruitless because, you even sit down and because there's a black nation.
No, man, we gotta show support. We gotta lend supporting hand because the ability or the getting together to try and regularize Haiti is extremely important to us.
Yeah, but sometimes, Mr. Ben,
we don't want everybody else go fight that war for us and we ain't part of it.
No. See, we ain't got to be a part of that.
Yeah, man. That'll affect us more than affect everybody else.
It's unrealistic, though. You've been really unrealistic.
In what
way? When I look around, I watch plenty videos, but the Asian gang this with their BS, right? And you can see faces, you see who's who. And guess what? When you look around and now for some of these faces, you see it. Just what you see on YouTube.
But I can tell you, I have people who were personally serving as peacekeepers in Haiti who were there, and they told me the Haitians have a lot of respect for us Bahamians.
Yeah, they have respect.
A lot of situations where the Haitians got out of hand because Bahamians is there to defuse them. They listened to us.
Mr. Ben.
Right now, I talk about people who were there. Me and you ain't been there.
Yeah, Mr. Ben, you say Haitians respect Bahamians, right?
Yes.
But you know what? You know what is respect? Respect is when you want to come in someone's country, you go the right rate. That's respect.
My brother, let me ask you a question. How much Haitians you think in the Bahamas?
1 million or plus.
Well, we don't have 1 million people total. How much Haitians?
No. Well, I say the census.
Well, you know, no more. You ever been around 1 million people? They say we near 400,000, right? They say we near 400,000. We even didn't reach 500,000 yet. But what I'm saying is, let's say we get 500,000 Haitians here, for argument's sake, right? Or even 1 million. Since you want to say 1 million. How much Haitians you think still in Haiti?
1 trillion.
Okay, so we only get a small percentage. The U.S. got 500,000. They got more than us, right? My thing is, I don't want you to think these Haitians all trying to get in the Bahamas.
Yeah, but
most of them are still home. So if they could get regularized, and we could assist in that, and they become regularized, most of these Haitians will be going back home.
These Haitians our time, you know what? If Haitians mean any good in the Bahamas, they got no respect. They be talking to Yagi on Guardian Radio. They got show for years. You know what? Respect.
I hear you.
Disrespect.
You mean because they have a show they disrespecting somebody? I mean they have a show me or you don't have to listen to their show.
No. What you mean?
Why you have? I wouldn't. Well, I ain't understanding what they're saying, so I ain't gonna listen to them.
They need to talk in English.
They paying for that show. Why?
You know what? Their terms. I mean, what if they planning to do the bomb or whatever? The bottom line is, no country is allowed a country. This is nonsense.
You ever been to Miami?
Man, why are you talking to me like this?
No, I know. I want to tell you. You ever been down in South Miami, there where all them Cubans are?
And as Cubans, that's what they want.
But what I'm saying to you is they own that turf. That's the USA, but Cubans run that.
Yeah.
So don't say they don't do it. They don't, and then certain parts of California and stuff, Mexican run.
Yeah, and anytime America want to take it back, we got the manpower and the military force to remove them. See, the difference with us, when these people come here with they 500,000 talking their funny tongue, you know what? They take over.
That's why we got
in our military, all in every aspect of human life. You know, you don't allow that.
Just remember
Mr. Bill, I'm close. Let me tell you something, yeah?
Yeah.
I am in the supermarket, right?
Yeah.
I said this lady, I said, man, here's something you hear me say. I said, hey, son, you give me the guy, tell me. I don't listen to the hymn music. All the hymn music is noise.
Yeah, but that's a choice. We got some Bahamians who only want to listen to reggae. Man, you know what's happening.
That's all right. But, you know, she goes on.
Yeah, but that's a choice, eh?
You know what this guy say? You know what she say? I said, why you say that? She say, man, why I say that? Me? I got the Bahamian passport. I ain't no Bahamian. I got the passport, and every bone on my body is Haitian, and me, I don't know loyalty to this country. But
yeah.
You know what? A supermarket could hire her. She have no loyalty to the country. You think she have any loyalty to the supermarket?
Probably not.
Cashier?
Probably not. But
I mean, that's a single
situation.
And educate them and everything, right? And at the end of the day, when they come with that kind of talk and into a real citizen, there should be some recourse for us to go to the immigration department or go is the department for us to go to get their passport, we go from that person and have them deported.
Just remember,
in America, yeah. You can't do that. You can't say nothing negative about America like that. You be a man, old man, they coming for you.
Just remember,
they are coming for you.
Just remember,
you got the passport too. You coming at the derogatory. You ain't got no loyalty, and you what? They can put you right in your place. You be right back home where you are there peeing and talking about, oh, I'm a refugee. Help me, help my family. You stay in education, bring these people. We're wasting our time with them. Get them out of the Bahamas. All they do is making the Bahamas.
But it's also selling our country out. It ain't them.
Well, great things, Aisha.
Yeah. So well, I don't know who the persons are who selling it, but we know it getting sold because these people getting passports. Right?
They get about, you know what? That's why we gotta go. They talk about the American visa, and the next America is going to do something else. I mean, because there's nonsense going on here, and these lying politicians. Oh no, it ain't so. This and that and that. And that time they keep it. Well, look here.
Anyway, I can get back to
Davos.
Davos.
In fact, you know what? They closing, right? You see how America used the sonic wave technology and go on in Venezuela and just pick up their president.
Oh yeah, man. They can do that anywhere in the world. That's what I'm saying. Nobody in the world. They got the technology.
Exactly in the Bahamas, you know.
Huh?
The same thing they did in Venezuela. Do it in the Bahamas. Get rid of these criminals who leading us and taking us out and lying to us and bringing all these criminals in this country from Haiti.
We gotta have oil first.
Giving them our passport.
No, we gotta have oil first, man. America only go where they have interest. We ain't got nothing what they want. Otherwise, they don't take over us long time.
What you mean? Why they have water here? Why they build a big?
No, I say we don't. They have water here, so they don't have to take over us to have water here. I'm saying they ain't got no reason to take our country over because we ain't got nothing they want.
Okay, and why is it that big fresh embassy there, right?
Because they can have it there. They have them all over the world.
Exactly. And you know what? You was very disrespectful. That embassy is so nice, right?
Yeah.
These niggas around here would not pave the road. Fred Mitchell and Dollar Boy, they will not pave that road because guess what? They just anti-American.
Well, I don't know if that's
that's what it is because they pave the road all in the back of Carmichael Road. They looking for vote. All right.
Yeah,
nonsense.
Well,
you know what? I close a long time, right?
Yeah.
And then you see Brave, they're sitting there with this big laugh, and you see the thing with the U.S. ambassador, like everything cool, and I ain't got to worry about nothing. Stay right there. The first thing the ambassador do is give him $500,000, tell him that's for hurricane relief, you know. But you know what? Brave, it's politics time. What do you think you do with that money? Huh? And then he paid in front of the embassy. He paid to the rock. In fact,
one thing when the U.S. give a country money, that get in the treasury, buddy.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, this government is like rot. Because guess what? They Shirley Street, they're jumping on all these. They won't pay that. Why? Because the embassy, they hate on America, man. And bringing all these Haitians in this country and thing and giving them our passport. They should be ashamed of themselves.
So when they paved that between now and election, now you can take that back. you know I can pay before election, right?
No. That voters around through that corner.
You know Shirley Street can pay before election, right? And that corner go to the hospital. They can pay that before election. You could rest assured. Now, I want you to come back on my show and take all of that back, what you say that's now, when they don't pay it.
No, but you know what? If they do pay it, they still they can put them in a good position.
But I still want you to come back and apologize. Say, anyway, Glenn, they pay it.
No, man, apologize to them, man. I hear that. So sick of this country, right? I ain't telling you no lie, right? I will not vote no more in this country. Never.
Yeah, well,
empower these men and all they do is disenfranchise them and put all kind of nobody in front of us and give them our passport.
Some people don't believe in voting. So I if that's your, I respect that if that's your view. You remember Rodney Monk saying, let's go on the beach.
Rodney.
May his soul rest in peace.
He's PLP with FNM.
May his soul rest in peace.
He's conflicted.
Yeah, no, but everybody got their choice. That's what I'm saying.
But you know when you mentioned Rodney Monk, right? And he talking about the FNM, right? And he have a heart condition, right? And his doctor is the FNM chairman, right? But boy, any man in their right mind, if I say like that, boy, I can take care of myself. I ain't under that doctor, right? I go to no doctor. Because you know what? At the end of the day, if he enough out of political party, he talking about the party, you think I get on he can love me and show me all kind of goodness.
We got professional doctors. We got professional doctors, man. They ain't gonna do that.
Hold on now. Mr. Ben.
Man, you know how to joke it. Look here.
Doctors are professional. No doctors professional. Because all them, they're just practicing. They have a license to practice. And all they're doing, like the new ones will come in for training, call them what? Intern, right?
Yeah.
An intern, all them are doing, when they finish being an intern, you know what, they move on to what they're doing because all them take interns on people's life.
Yeah,
without consequences.
Look, thanks for the good discussion, but I want you to remember one thing before you close, right? I just want you to remember. You ain't got to apologize, right? But I want you to remember that our defense force ain't full of women. We may have one or two little slackers, right? Boy, but we could send, you should feel comfortable us sending people down there to assist with trying to regularize them so we don't have to worry about them trying to escape anymore. I mean, it's rough, you know.
I mean, we don't do enough for the people.
Yeah, I agree. That's why we need to be a part of the team who trying to help them to get back on their feet. Because if they get on their feet, then it could be less problem for us.
I just disrespecting the defense force, right?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
On the ground for military training, y'all practice. You only been in no battlefield and they just with no live bullets flying across your leg.
No, but that ain't what peacekeeping is all about. Because I don't tell you, we done send hundreds of people out there already, and none of them died, none of them got caught up in that. You do this thing in an organized way, but if a country need help, right? You can need people to help them. I'm saying that since we are impacted more than any other country in the world by Haitians leaving that country, we should want to be part of the team that's trying to help them out. That's all I said.
And we'll be the small small population we got here.
Yeah, that's why we only send a small number, but at least let's send some.
America deal with that kind of thing.
No, America ain't interested right now, but America ain't feeling it like us, so we need to try to help them out. That's my view.
If you make a call to America, they'll do something. Trust me, because guess what?
I leaving that up to you. I want you to get the U.S. to agree to go and take charge of Haiti. Because if they agree to do that, that's done. Right? We know that ain't no task for them. That's an easy task.
That's the only way.
But they gotta want to see. First of all, they gotta have an interest. The U.S. don't go nowhere without an interest.
They don't have an interest. Trust me.
What is their interest?
What do you mean?
They don't have no interest in taking away Haiti. They don't do that.
So you mean to tell me now everything can just go, they shouldn't take over the Bahamas and everything?
No, but they have no interest in taking over
like that, brother.
The Bahamas ain't a U.S. problem, you know.
I know Haiti is a U.S. problem.
But they got more Haitians in the U.S. than they have in the Bahamas.
And they trying to get them out.
Well, of course.
Like, I know it.
We trying to get them out too, eh?
No. They're trying to get them out. We keeping them here, and we giving them our passport. And we I into America saying,
I
you don't do that.
I down to 3 minutes.
All the payment passport is paying all the...
I down to 3 minutes. Let me close out. Hey, keep in touch. Thanks for calling, man. Let's
you don't touch you.
Take care of yourself. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to Maritime Matters. That was a good little friendly discussion. But my views are, we here, Haiti's our brothers and sisters, and although they may be going through some stuff now, we don't know when our time might come. The reality is we need to be there for them to help them help themselves. And if we get a contingent going down from other parts of the world, of course we won't be part of that, because it's in our best interest for them to get on their feet. That's my view. Now, people could have their own view. That's my view. We are 2 minutes away from close. My producer looking at us if we're already close now. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Maritime Matters. We had a variety of topics. We didn't have hardly no calls. That one person, he was able to take up the call that we needed along the way. So I'm happy that he did. We were talking about the 2 U.S. poachers that were charged, denied bail. They came in on commercial commercial yacht. It looks like a yacht outside, but on the inside, man, they're ready to clean house with fish. We also talked about renewable energy. How, well, of course, the Bahamas have pledged to do so much. And the Bahamas is doing a lot now, and I think it's only going to get better as we approach 2030. Although we got to go all the way to 25, but if we could do it, the sooner the better, right? We need to save some money. We need to make it easy for the Bahamian people. We need to make sure we're using solar fully. We need to get rid of that what they call it, natural gas. Man, natural gas, that's still fossil fuel. We need that in this country. And we got it. Let's try it. Don't hold it for too long. We talk about Davos, the impact, and the reasons why President Trump is saying that he had to do certain things, and certain people owe him, and he was carrying NATO for all them years, and again, I'm a big fan of President Trump, but when he talking facts and nobody could query it, then you gotta listen, right? And that kind of wraps up what we covered tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We didn't have much calls, but again, we thank you for listening to our show. I'd like to say good night again to my good old Annie Mae, heading for 93 this year. I would like to thank our sponsors, Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, Island Pharmacy in Freeport, 101 Pharmacy here in Nassau, my good producer, Mr. Craig Gibson, and you, our dear listeners. Again, we thank you for listening to Maritime Matters.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away again. Yeah. I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Just sitting on the dock of the I left my home in Georgia, headed for the Frisco Bay. I've had nothing to live for, look like nothing's gonna come my way. So I'm just gonna sit on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time.
The music is good.
Just like gives me a good feeling all day.
It's great music.
Don't hear the same song a lot.
Love 97,
Your favorite adult radio station.
it's a great feeling.